All right, well, welcome to the meeting. This is April 5th, if I'm not mistaken. Wow, we're making our way. Leslie, your term is coming so soon.
Yay!
I just saw Leslie go white. So let's do a call to start the meeting real quick. Do we have any motion to start the meeting?
Oh, I think you can just call it to order.
All right, we're called to order. All right. So first point of order is actually something I got from an email from Anne, which is, can we change the order of the meeting this meeting? I know that, so that is a motion, because Anne thinks that we should cover the, you said old business, right, Anne, is what you proposed, so that we could do the proposal for the structure early because some folks are gonna have to leave.
Right.
So let me ask,
But
is
you know what?
there,
But I'm going to stay on for the whole thing. I changed my schedule. So I don't know who else is here, but that was the reason for doing it. So if you want to leave it the way it is, fine.
okay. All right, well, that was a rescinded motion. If anyone else has that motion, please make it now.
A non-event.
All right, great. Strike. Okay, so the first motion on our agenda today is to do a vote on the minutes, and I had sent those out earlier this weekend. Thank you again, as always, Joanne, for getting those minutes out to us. They looked great for me. Does anyone have any questions? For those who are not on the board, I don't send them out to everyone. It's too many attachments for everybody to get. But for the board members, it should have been included. I'll pull up the board meetings folder here and you can see them while we're doing a motion here.
Can I make a comment on those minutes?
Yeah.
So on the permanent agenda items, Marty, it says that Suzanne was volunteering to promote Ryla, young Ryla. I think Jason ended up doing that and not Suzanne. Just a comment after the fact, so.
I
That's
think
it.
Suzanne volunteered, but she couldn't follow through. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That was it.
Okay.
Well, hearing no other action there. Do we have a motion to approve them?
I move to approve the minutes.
Is that Mary Beth?
Yep.
And I second it, Anne.
Wonderful. All right, can we have all in favor, hands and eyes? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
And is that an oppose or just a late eye?
I'm in the mountains.
Seconded.
Okay, it's a delay.
That's-
Anyone abstaining from voting that is a voting member here? No, we have no others. Okay, and also just for quorum, we've got
President nominee
We've
doesn't
got
vote,
7.
does it?
No, we've got 7 people, so that's quorum because we have a 11 person board, so that hits our quorum, just so that we know that.
Right.
All right. Let us move forth. Financial reports. Mary Beth, I'll pull them up here for you. You want to do P&L first?
Whatever. They're pretty similar to every other year. The only, we're doing fine. Just to let everybody know that we had paid for Ryla 2 years ago. And because they didn't have a Ryla, we rolled it over. And then last year there was no Ryla. So again, it was rolled over. And this year we got a $200 credit because the Ryla expenses had increased, but instead of, oh boy, I'm going to remember, instead of 6 Rylas and young Rylas, we're only doing 5. So we got a $200 credit. So there's a $200 credit that'll be rolled over to next year. So for Leslie's budget, we have $200 in the bank for Ryla, with Ryla. I mean, we don't see it anywhere here, but so there, nothing appears on our screen for Ryla in the P&L because we had paid for it 2 years ago.
Yeah, no.
So that is not there, but everything else is there. And because it's the end of the month, we've received almost all payments from dues payments. So we're doing fine. We're doing fine.
And I'd throw one other thing out there real quick, Mary Beth, about the RILA.
Sure.
We did approve an extra person to go up to the full amount. They just didn't, they didn't take
Right.
it.
Right. I think
So,
that they're having
so everyone
problems.
understands that. Part of the credit is that we had said, yeah, we can give more money.
Mhm.
They didn't even, yeah, we didn't even get that. So
I think that they're having challenges this year getting kids to sign up for it. And so it was easier for us to for them to say, okay, we're just going to give you a credit for that person. So it all works out in the wash. And but we are supporting multiple RILA candidates this summer from 2 years ago, and we still have a credit. So, but it doesn't appear anywhere on the P&L because we paid for it 2 years ago.
yeah. And then the
So
bottom
we've
line
got-
for this year right now is that we're doing pretty well, right?
Yes, yeah.
So
No, we're if you look at the bottom number, we're $6,000 to the good.
Yeah.
And that is because we didn't pay for food or building rent. We paid for some building rent for the church over the summer and for the Humane Society. And that's in rent. Where is that
it's
number? You know, what-
5470 rent meeting
Yeah.
facility.
and rent meeting facilities. So we're substantially. So I would also propose, I know that we still have a couple of meetings before that, but last year, what we did with that money, because we had the money left over, is we paid for everyone to come to installation dinner without them having to be billed for that. So if we can do that again this year, I think that would be a wonderful thing. And I was really expecting that everybody would take advantage of it because it was a free dinner. And I was shocked that so many people didn't. So maybe this year they will, you know, and that's a different discussion, but anyway, we do have, that's the reason we have the money left over, is because we've been charging for rent and meals and we haven't had any.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a good thing just to note here for the 7 of us on the board, because I don't know. I know that Anne has been working on charter night stuff, right? Or not charter night, but the
Installation dinner.
Yeah.
Relation, yeah.
So I don't know that we want to spend all of it on that. I think it's nice to still have a little bit of a buffer by the end of this year.
And we didn't last year.
No.
We didn't last year, but I think it's a terrific gesture. And I went to the installation dinner and I remember people being really excited about seeing their friends, and it was a lovely evening outdoors. It was gorgeous that night. You know, it was really very nice. I'm disappointed that more people didn't take advantage of it, but that's, you know, water under the bridge.
Hey, Anne,
So that's the P&L.
And I saw you had your hand up real quick. Is there a?
Yeah, I wanted to know, so how many people are we supporting with RILA this year? 5?
5, yes.
5. And so I know one of them, Quinn Burns, but there's a second person that we've got? Or Bill would know about that? You wouldn't know about
Yeah,
that?
check with Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All we do-
Bill's been involved with the interviews that are held between the Boulder clubs. So.
Yeah,
Because
that's not till the end of
Right,
end of
but he's
April.
involved
They're
in
just
that
getting the
whole process.
applications done. Yeah.
and because of the way it works, our club doesn't necessarily support individuals. We put the money into a pot and then the district determines who is going to it. So our money doesn't necessarily go to a specific individual. It goes into the pot, and then when those kids are chosen, then we pay for so many scholarships. So it's not, you know, yes, we prefer that it would be somebody from that has some association with our club. And just FYI, Howard's kids are in high school and middle school, is that right? So, you know, they could be candidates for this. Talk to Jason about it, because his kid both of his kids went, and it was a terrific experience for both of them. So
I've been a counselor many times, and I'll tell you, the kids, like almost everyone I've ever met that's done it, including I've dated people who did RILA when they were in high school, and they're like, it's one of the biggest life-changing events of their young life. So it doesn't seem like much from the outside when we're funding it. We're like, oh, it's 500, here's $500, but like for the kids, it really can be pretty amazing.
yeah.
Well, should we jump from P&L then?
Mhm.
All right. Thank you for putting that together for us as always. We'll do balance next.
Yeah. And you'll see that we have more money than we had last year. And again, that's a result of two things. Because it's the end of the month, it has nothing to do with you, Jay. Sorry, you cannot take credit for this, but it's because dues payments have come in. So when dues payments come in, we're always higher, and we haven't paid anything out for rent or meals.
Right.
So.
And this year we have less or no members who are not paying dues, whereas last year we were still working on that too. I remember that was.
Yeah, we have a couple of people who are delinquent and, take their time.
Yeah.
I-
But we
one
had
individual
folks
that I'm
last
thinking
year and
of.
the year before that were not paying dues, and we were
Right,
working
right.
on that. So.
Right. Yeah, no, one person, I'll get the check probably in May or March. But I know that, and we have enough money, and we can certainly float that for wherever we need. So,
Yeah.
so we're doing fine.
Perfect.
We're doing fine.
So on the agenda also in this section is the review and approval of Leslie's budget proposal. And I thought it was a great proposal. So I'm going to pull that up real quick for y'all. And like it's the same format as what I proposed last year. And we have it highlighted over my budget, the actuals so far this year, and then the proposed budget here. And Leslie, I don't know if you want to talk through some of the changes you made or the things you want to highlight about your budget here, but the board
I think this is the proposal. I don't think that this is the real one.
Oh, is it not?
But
Is it the real one in the zip file?
yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, and it's
So do you know which file it would be under inside of that file, that zip?
it was hard for me to open it, so I said, since I'm not the treasurer, I don't really care.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, because zip files are like voodoo to me.
Here, let me see if I have it another way to present it, because I.
But the one that you pulled up was, because when I opened that one, I saw, wait, this is what I sent to Leslie, not her.
Got it. All right.
her update. And you can just talk through the updates, because I don't think that they're very many.
Okay, yeah,
I
Leslie, do that
changed-
while I'm pulling it up real quick.
Yeah, and I think I used mostly your proposed worksheet, Maribeth. There were a couple things I changed, and I think that is what I sent to Jay.
Cool, here we go. I'm pulling it up now.
And is that what you sent on out to everyone then?
It was in the zip file that was
It
sent
was in
out.
the- Okay.
And
got
I'm
it.
realizing now that not everyone probably could open that file because it's a numbers file. So let me convert it real quick, but I'll show it to you on the screen here.
Yeah.
I've got it loaded. So probably the only people that could
That
see
Herb?
it were
We
going to be.
got Herb joined. Okay.
Yeah, we've got her, we've got Bob Crothers. It's a party here.
Wow.
All right, here's this one. And gotta expand it a tiny bit. There we go. All right, is that pretty visible for everybody?
It is.
Wonderful. All right, Leslie, you're on.
Yeah, so if I can, I haven't looked at this for a bit. So I didn't change Jay's original live and silent auction item. I didn't want to assume we would be as successful as we did this year for next year. And also didn't know that, perhaps if we do a successful fundraiser, part of it is going to go to the foundation as opposed to the club. Because then it would be then members could write it off for taxes if they wanted to. So I excluded that and just left it as that $500 income and didn't change, the charter night income. So that also helps to cover guest meals and expenses. So I just left that the same. The dues are based on 40 members, and I think for Jay's year, it was based on more members. So that made it a significant decrease. And that's really a fixed item on there, which is something that I can't change. What else? There are a lot of fundraising things that go to the foundation. So Amazon Smiles is a really small thing. I don't know why it ends up in the club's pot. And then King Super's gift cards, or King Super's savings, that goes to the foundation. And that's also just a small piece, but I'm not sure. I didn't really ask for clarification on that, but that's, just a small piece. Happy Dollars.
Oh, can I?
Mary Beth had a quick.
Yes.
Bob Groening was going to switch over the Amazon Smile to the foundation so that would be automatically deposited there. So hopefully that's a zero balance because it goes to the foundation and that's not the club.
He did say that, Mary Beth, but he also talked about how it probably would need to just be completely redone because
So it's so insignificant for our club, it doesn't make any difference.
exactly.
Right.
That's his point, is that the level of effort of either creating a whole new one or trying to modify this one based on his experience. He's like, I don't have the experience or know how to do it without rebuilding it. And then at that point, it's just more work than it's worth at this dollar amount. And we don't get tax write-off for that when we buy things from Amazon. So it's not like it really hurts us. We just send the check to the foundation, or we can put it towards Sparkplug or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then since we aren't doing lottery anymore, and Happy Dollars, because things have changed because of COVID, I wasn't sure what to put on that line item. So that's kind of just either a ballpark or Mary Beth's best guess.
And what we've done the last like 3 years is it ends up being zero because we determine at the board level to give that money away. Same with the silent auction kind of thing. That'll be zero next month when we write that check. So,
Right.
It's up to you. But in the past, we've always used that as part of the income for the club. So
Right. Because, we do need income because there are expenses with some of the, the spark plug and the literacy award that has to come, that's part of this budget, not the foundation budget. So that's why it was a little bit confusing to not have a deficit at the end. So with club operations. So then we have all the, the expenses. A lot of those really are just based on what we've done in the past. And that seems to have worked pretty well. I think, remote technology, I'm not sure if we would expect anything different from that. The convention and meetings, I increased that because I saw the value of the club paying for the president-elect nominee. So when Terry and I both went to Pets, I think that was really valuable for the club, and creating more of a leadership pipeline and strength in those roles. So that was one change that I made. Kept
Leslie,
the
one
charter
thing I'd
night
point out you
installation
did that I
dinner
thought was really
expenses.
great,
What?
Leslie, I think under operations, you reduced our printing down to 150.
Oh,
I think was really smart because we don't spend a lot of money. That number there was because we had done all that stuff for the district and we had that district income, right? So our
right. Yeah, I think
printing-
I think when we reflected back, that was kind of a special 2021, 22 cost, and that we didn't anticipate having that again.
Right. And I did like that your advertising went way up. I mean, we budgeted for more advertising than we've spent this year, but I like that idea of spending a little bit more on advertising and the website expense. Cause I know we talked about redoing the website for next year. So that would be during your year. That's a project that would be assigned to me. So I saw that you put that extra money in there, and hopefully we can get it to a point where annually it's cheaper than it is now. I think we can do that. but it might cost a little extra the first year to get everything set up properly. Ann?
And what is this, $150 for advertising? What are we advertising? How are we advertising? I mean,
No, that says we're not,
$150.
but-
We're not.
But
We're not, we haven't spent anything this year. That's why if you look at the actuals, we've spent very little. I think that $5 was for you. We reimbursed you for something.
Yeah, but I went back to look at if you want to keep boosting on social media, the prices have gone up. And I think $150 is not much. I mean, there
It
are
isn't
other
much,
things
but
we
we don't
can do.
have a lot to play with either. And I don't know if those, it'd be interesting to see if those boosts have an effect from Facebook. I don't know.
And don't forget, this is the 25th anniversary year. We might want to put something out there in the papers, or not. I know papers seem archaic, I know, but
No,
something
I
out
look-
there that we're celebrating our 25th.
I learned with the hand weavers that even though very few people read the newspapers, that is still a very effective form of advertising in Boulder County. Boulder County is unique in that people actually read papers.
well, and the people who read papers are generally more socially engaged. That's another metric that I've been hearing a lot about. And
We
whether they read
subscribe
it
to
online,
3 papers.
yeah, but they read it online too, and they might be the more socially engaged folks. So it's not a bad thing. I really like how that balance is up there. And I think that Leslie had a lot of good insight for how to better balance that. And I appreciate everyone giving her input on that if they have. Leslie, did you have some more stuff here?
Let's see here. Oh, so, so in the past we had, quite an expense for breakfasts, but we haven't done that at all. I don't want to think that that's going to completely go away. See, it's been 0 this year. So I'd like the club to weigh in on some creative ways that we could provide some sort of a breakfast at the meetings, when we feel like we are in a space that we can do it. Right now, it's a pretty tight space, so it doesn't work very well. Bringing muffins, I think that's great. And, fruit. So we've done that a little bit, but it's been fairly informal. So I wanted to budget something for that. And it might be that, people volunteer to stop at Costco and get something, or stop at the grocery store and then they get reimbursed, or they choose to say, it's not really a big deal. Don't reimburse it. So that is a total ballpark because there's so many unknowns. The next line, that's not, that's based on 40 members. Our Rotary dues, district dues, and Rotaract support, or the international dues and 5450, that's based on 40 members as an expense. The program committee, that, because of COVID, Jay I believe he didn't have any expenses in that because the little globe cubes that he gives away, those were rolled over from Marty's year. And usually we give some sort of a little gift to the speakers, but because we have so many remote speakers, my thought was to just give a gift to Polio Plus if it's a Zoom speaker, and then use what we have on hand for in-person speakers, and then from Russell Hampton, we could get some other little gift speakers. So it's been anything from pins to reusable shopping bags, the little globes, they have little pocket knives, everything is, somewhere between $5 and $8. So that was trying to be as minimal as possible on that line. And then for meeting space, I left that the same. I don't know if, everything is going up in Boulder, everybody's square footage, rental, lease property, Jason would probably, know more about this, but I don't know if Terry's gotten a final answer from the Atonement Church, but,
Actually, Atonement is no longer in the mix.
oh no.
It was creating some tension with staff because there was just too much going on. We may want to ask again next fall, but the staff in general were rather overwhelmed because this is a whole new thing after COVID and the renovation was finished.
Yeah.
And they're just not quite prepared. And Wednesdays are bad days.
Yeah.
You know.
And, I think this has been a real pain point. Marty's maintained connections with the Presbyterian church that we met at, and it's okay for in-person meetings, but there's a lot of challenges, especially if we were to do more remote stuff. The space is dark. It really has no IT anything. We have to have a screen and a projector, and there's absolutely nothing there to support Zoom meetings. We would have to do everything. So
Leslie?
yeah.
May I, in doing some investigation of a meeting space, the church that we met at St. Andrews has multiple meeting rooms. We
Okay.
took the largest one because of the kitchen. If there might be other rooms that are better for us because of the remote meetings, and it's still we were paying the premium because of that kitchen. If
Okay.
we change so I think that St. Andrews bears more investigation.
Okay.
That's all I want to say.
And I
And
know
I
that
think
a lot of members have, proposed other places, and I don't want to, take anything off the table, but I think just like Atonement, a lot of sites are feeling that same stress of cleaning up. And, fortunately or unfortunately, at the Humane Society, it's free because we're not paying them to do anything. We're very self-sufficient. So, and we can continue to have that. It's just more inconvenient for us because it's not, it's not the space that I think our club deserves. I think we need a little more space, not a huge amount of space, but just a little more. So that line item is really up in the air. I think that some of the nicer spaces, either they're not available, or it's a lot of tension like they were seeing at Atonement. So what else? So I'm not sure what the membership.
Leslie?
Yes.
So the JCC, I approached them about a number of things, and the person, Sarah Gutman, has not gotten back to me, but there was a space that would be appropriate there. And I think it was well under.
That's $225 per meeting. I talked to her.
225?
Because we meet at 7:30 in the morning, there's an upcharge. So it would be $225 per meeting. So it's not even.
Wait a minute. What room are you talking about? Are you
the L130? It's the upcharge. If we met after 8 o'clock in the morning, if we met from 8 to, because we meet at 7:15, it's $150 for that first hour.
Wow.
Wow.
Are you talking
And then
about the room
$75 for the second hour. So that's
Okay, are you talking about-
$225. So that's not even a possibility.
Okay, so are you talking about the room that Boulder Rotary uses?
No,
No.
this is the
That
small
room's
room.
really, that room.
Small
This is
room.
the small room.
And this
It's
is
the
a budget.
upcharge that's the problem.
And our budget, assuming we only meet like 44 weeks out of the
Yes.
52, comes out to $78 a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
A meeting.
And that's about what we were paying at the rec center. So this is a longer discussion, I think.
Yeah,
we should just
let's
go
break
through
this one out some
Leslie's
more
budget,
again. I
but the
appreciate you all
meeting
putting the
space
effort
is
in.
a longer discussion.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is, we just needed to hold some money with the thoughts for meals and facilities. So then moving down, awards, those are at the installation dinner. I was trying to see, I still have a deficit of over $3,000. So, And then the Community Service Committee Awards, so Spark Plug and Literacy Awards, those are still budgeted from the club's account as opposed to the foundation account. So that, we have to make up that money somewhere in addition to the other expenses we have. So I think that is, yeah, Mary Beth played with it a little bit. I shared it with Dave. He's out of the country right now. So that's the budget that we're working with for my year.
And I will point out for folks, because I looked at this as well, there's a lot of little things in here that we keep on the budget in case we need it, but generally we don't spend all of it. So I mean, membership's an example of that, where we did spend it this year, but in the past we haven't. And I know that we want to, but there are little items like that that don't always get spent. So I mean, you look at mine where I was 900 in deficit, and it was a COVID year sort of, but we were meeting in person every meeting and we still hit $6,600 left over at the end. So
Well,
just worth noting that in a Rotary Club, typically we don't spend as much as we expect to. We try, but it just doesn't ever happen the way that we think it will.
Bob Carruthers has an aversion to deficit budgeting.
I agree, Bob, but we just don't spend is the problem. We have all these goals.
I understand.
We're
I'm not going
volunteers
to
and we just
raise-
never reach our goals completely.
raise a lot of problem. I just want to re-recorded that
It's recorded.
deficit budgeting.
Well, you can make up the deficit. We'll take it out of your what you owe us, right?
So Bob, we just need to recruit a few extra, if we got up to 45 members, that would probably wipe out that deficit.
Yeah. Now that you're living around some folks, invite them to come and carpool with them over, and you know the real reason you want to balance that deficit out. We got you. All right. Are we all good here? This looks really good, Leslie.
Yeah, it's
work.
thanks, Maribeth. Thanks, Jay, for your input. And it's a little bit here and a little bit there, but hopefully we'll come out fine because I trust the fiscal responsibility of the club. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're not going to spend $1,000 on some special banner to fly over the Humane Society.
Right. Definitely not. All right, so I exported it to Excel and then I just uploaded it to our common folder for the meeting here. So now we have that version in there. It's the one that I just added, and I'll get rid of the other one. All right, let me share out the agenda again. And then
Do you want to vote on the proposal, or is this too soon?
no, this is the time to vote. You're spot on. All right, so do we have any motions here?
I move we accept Leslie's budget.
That's Mary Beth, okay?
Second, that's
second.
Angie. Okay.
We'll give it to Angie. Angie seconded.
Angie second, okay?
All right, all
Angie's
in favor,
on
aye?
here?
Yes, she's on.
Oh, I can't see it. Mhm.
She's not on video.
Right. All in favor of this proposing Leslie's budget?
No.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right, all opposed? All right, fantastic. Leslie, it looks like you opposed your own budget, which is great. I love it. And
That was a delayed reaction. Thanks, Jay.
it's okay to have some people in opposition. There's nothing wrong with that. All
Well,
right,
somebody
let's move
has
forward.
to, somebody has to keep it in line. So
Absolutely. We have no committee chairs on the line from what I can see for current committee structure. So we'll skip right past number 3 today.
Excuse me, I'm here.
You're not a
I'm on a
committee
committee.
chair.
She's
Of
on the
course,
committee.
I'm a committee chair.
For
I'm
which one,
the
public
public
image?
image. I'm
Oh.
public image, only me, not George, just me.
George is a listed committee chair.
I know that, but he bailed out in October of
All
last year.
right, so what, you have an announcement? You have something to update us on here?
I have a couple of things to
All right.
tell you about. I'm sorry. So, well, wait a minute. So wait, you went by permanent agenda items. Is that where we are?
Yes, that
Or
is
no?
primary committee chair reports.
Okay, so Marty's not here and she's the chair. So can I say anything about Rotaract? Because there is news about Rotaract. Or do you want to hear from Marty?
If you've got something you wanted to update us on that,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, so Rotaract is responsive now. They were invited to volunteer at Together, which 2 of them did. I have been forwarding the digital version of the Rotary magazine, which they've received. They are allowed to have it. I tried to get them to do it, but I don't think that they did. So I get it digitally and I sent it to them. They've been invited to Rotary Leadership Institute and to the annual conference. Not that anyone gave me permission to invite them, but I did offer it, and they did not get back to us. So they're still having some trouble being responsive. They were invited by me to the social. 2 of them attended. The 2, Josh and Robbie, really are the only 2 people in that club that in Rotaract that do anything. Just so you know, Andy Meyer in Boulder Rotary, he hasn't been involved in Rotaract, and he invited a new member who happens to be, I think, 80 years old, and a newbie Rotarian who's been, it seems to be babysitting Rotaract. He was invited to our social and he didn't show up. We need to get a hold of Lee Mulberry, who's the Rotaract district person, to talk about the dysfunction of Rotaract. They do want speakers. And they've requested volunteer opportunities, which I've shared with them. So we're making some headway with Rotaract.
So Ann,
So I
real
just
quick,
wanted to,
I think
Yeah.
that one thing that can be done out of this that'll help us like immediately is if we can get like either their club secretary or the president, if they don't have one, and put their email address in our newsletter updates. I think that could be really helpful, because if they're on the mailing list, we can have them on the newsletter only list, and then they can see also information, in advance from that, and not just our club. I think there would be a benefit for them to having Boulder Valley and Boulders, because they get money from all 3 of us. That might be
I know
a
you want
nice
from
step for the
you want
secretary.
them to get our newsletter?
Yeah, I think that would be really good. I think that there should be that cross communication youth services should be communicating some of that, but they would also be able to see what's happening. And I know when we used to run a college version of the Kiwanis Club, that was mandatory for the secretary. Like, you had to have them subscribed so that you could see what was happening, and then they could coordinate with the committees what was most pertinent.
I don't think their secretary, I'm not sure what their positions are, because the 2 people that were president and secretary are out of the country. And
Sure.
so Josh and Robbie are filling in. And by the way, we don't have a newsletter. We didn't have a newsletter for March, and we don't have, today's the 5th. We don't have a newsletter from our club for April. So I agree that would be a great idea if we had a newsletter, but we don't. And I don't know who does the newsletter.
It's Beth.
I know who does it, but it's not been done. So there's nothing to send. And I don't know who does the newsletter in the Boulder Valley Club or the Boulder Rotary Club. I have tried to connect to the presidents to find out who does what, and I don't get responses. So I don't know about, I'm telling you, something that maybe you can do something about, to find out who these people are, and I'll bug them to send information and get it to Rotaract. But David Harper doesn't even know who is supposed to be involved in in Rotaract in
Right.
that club, and I thought,
David Harper is having a
Diane-
hard time. I get it.
I know,
mean,
I understand that. I understand that, but I thought Diane Fields, I think, who was the past president, I had met her at a Rotaract meeting a few years ago. And so I sent her an email and I said, is there somebody in your club that is working with Rotaract? And I never got a response. So,
Right.
you know,
And I honestly
it's-
think Boulder Valley's in a weird situation right now. I think Diane's coming back as president again next year, and part of that is just the lack of their momentum. But I think the Boulder Club is more of the issue, that we want to keep them involved because they pay more money. And I mean, I think
They
this is a
pay
side
more money?
conversation,
No,
so
we
let's
all
break
pay
this-
$550. Don't we all pay $550?
I think they pay more.
Well, but if they pay more, they do nothing.
That's fine, but
Sorry.
they're the lead club, and until that changes, like, I think that we need to involve them in these conversations, and we can do that. That's not going to be a problem. I can get them on the horn about that. I think that they're trying to fix their issues there too, but they've been having a hard time. We honestly, in Boulder, we're the club that's having the easiest time of it. I'll just be honest. I've talked to presidents in both of the other clubs, and they've been having a really hard time getting re-engagement. I don't think our club has. People wanted to
Oh,
come
that's
back. They
interesting.
wanted to be involved. Their clubs are not having that experience, and they're losing a lot of members.
Wow.
That's because we're the fun club.
It's kind of
Oh,
true.
yeah.
But
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we were formed out of a very
It's
different
interesting. I didn't know that.
principle. Yeah, they're not having engagement the way that we do. So I think that's part of what's happening here, and you have to give them some slack because of COVID really hurt those clubs.
Well, thanks for telling us that. That's news to me. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think
That's
Michael
exciting.
Brady, he's really wanted to help with that, but it's been hard because those clubs are just having a lack of people volunteering to get things done. And we never seem to have a lack of people willing to volunteer in our club.
And the same thing's happening in churches.
I would believe it.
Yep.
So let's break this out. Let's have a separate call about this, and maybe we can talk about it later today. I should be free in the afternoon today, and I'd love to hear more
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
And I can
Thank
start
you.
to compile some emails and some phone calls, okay? And I'll get that taken care of.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Any other updates? And Leslie, I see your hand still up, so I don't know if that's a.
No, I'm out of Zoom practice. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. All right, so with no other updates, I want to let you know that next month, it's not that it's going to make the meeting long, but I just want to let you know that's the time frame. That's when John will be talking to us about the proposal with the updates for the 25th anniversary project. So I don't want to spend time on this call because we've got a lot more to cover, and I know this is going to be our longer board meeting this quarter. But yeah, the 25th anniversary project, that will be covered next month in May. And I'm not going to be in Serbia next month, so I'll still be able to lead the board meeting. It sounds like that'll maybe be September this year. Any opposition moving forward to old business, to the big subject for today? Fantastic. All right, so today our old business is a report out from the task force on club structure. Just kind of going over really quickly for those who may not have been at all parts of these meetings in the past, but there was a proposal for new structure in the club. I see some of the people attending the meeting today were people that gave input on that and had thoughts on it. There was some discussion that we had on, what the current state was. We had a club assembly meeting where we discussed it with the club, and the club provided feedback and ideas. That was rolled into some interviews that were done of both our club members and of members of other clubs who've gone through the same process. And a current proposal has been created. We're gonna take a look at that in a moment here, and we're going to vote on the proposal And as an amendment, we can vote on any recommendations or any direct amendments to that hereafter. So we'll have some discussion, but we're going to vote on this proposal, kind of parliamentarian-like. And then if we have those amendments that are being put forward, that would be a secondary vote, okay? And it still looks like we have quorum, so that makes me happy. And then if those recommendations or amendments and this proposal beget any needed changes to our bylaws or charter, which I assume that they probably will, maybe they don't, but I'm just going to assume, then we'll just have to make sure that we appoint some people to be the lead on that. And I already have an inkling of who might be the best person for that. Oh, look at her waving. Thanks, Joanne. And then after that, we'll assign a date to reconvene to vote on any changed language to bylaws and club charter to adopt this proposal all the way through our club language, okay? So that's kind of the process of what we're going to do today. So I'll jump into showing us what we've got. I got to move the blinds real quick. They're blinding me. All right, much better. Okay, so pull this up and okay. So the first part of the structure document outlines who consists or who the board consists of. We have officers, which are roles, and I mean, this is where Howard being a potential new member, this is really interesting to see who's an officer, who's in the board. So next year, Leslie will be president, Terry will be president-elect. Then Joanne still will be secretary. We'll have Dave Turner as our treasurer, woo-woo. And then I will be in the past president role. After that, we have 2-year term board of director positions continuing on. We can still have up to 12 is our current projection, and that won't be changing. So second years will be Anne, Joe, Angie, and Kim. The new first years will be Suzanne, Amy, and John Stringfellow. All right, so no difference there from what we expect. The foundation trustees, that is getting voted on at the club assembly tomorrow. We've got chair would be 1-year term. So I mean, this doesn't affect, I guess, our club board here as much, but just so that you can see what that's looking like. The members would be Marty, Bob, and John. Pete Mezzo will serve as vice chair, and Rusty will be chair. Ex officio members, non-voting, would be a pretty large contingency moving forward, but important because our board does need to know what's happening there and be involved in providing information and feedback. All right. And I think that one thing to point out is while Marty's listed as member on a 1-year term, something we had talked with the foundation about, and this may not happen moving forward, but something that is kind of a proposal is that there may be members added on in 1-year terms who are the past president. Just having had 3 years of presidential board experience in the club may work out that we end up having, so like maybe in 2 years, I would be on that board just for 1 year so that there's a continuation of that information. It's kind of the last hurrah from being president. But not in contention of that person being on the board of the club. Anne, you have a question about that?
Yeah, I just wanted to know on the foundation, do you want to have the committee, the foundation nominating committee that is Bob Groening, Dave, and Marty added to that somewhere or not?
No, not on this. This is just people acting as voting members and sitting members on the boards. That would be, the nomination committee is a whole separate aspect here and generally a non-official part of the club. It's not really a committee. It's honestly, we use the word committee a little too liberally. It's a task force.
Well, that's an interesting conversation, task force versus committee, because don't we need committees? And it seems to me that we don't even know who's on committees. So, all right,
Well, and
another
that's part of what this
conversation.
is about.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Okay. So we have a really exciting announcement. Mary Beth has agreed to be Sergeant at Arms for 22 to 23, which is fantastic. This is, I'm very excited.
I volunteered, but I never heard anything, so
Well,
I
you
guess.
are now voluntold.
Now I'm hearing.
It's probably hidden deep in an email, down in the
Somewhere that I
darkest,
didn't look at. Or in
darkest
that zip
corners of an
file. It's in
email.
that zip file I couldn't open.
So that's an exciting add-on here, because we wanted to make sure that we could keep Maribeth involved as much as we can so that she can't leave us. And this is a great way to do it.
She'll be good at it.
Yeah. And I've got a cowboy badge that says Sergeant at Arms with the Rotary logo on it. So if you're willing to wear it every week, I will pass it on to you. That was from my club in Austin. They gave it to me.
First, we need the badge box. Once we get that badge box back.
All right. So moving forward from that, that's the list of, who's involved here. So for committees, now this is a proposal. Obviously, we can have some amendments to how we design this. But there's this idea that for us to be more successful, and we heard this in the club assembly, members were hoping to have a more descriptive structure, a more organized structure with a little bit more reporting up into the board for the officers or directors at large, in order to help organize communication through the different committees. And through the research that I heard about, and this came from Leslie, it came from Marty, it came from a number of people. There was an understanding that some clubs do have more layers. Ours is very flat. It was like president and everyone else, and they all talk to the president, and the president's involved in everything. And that for some of the stuff that we talk about, that just seems to be a little bit too onerous. And I think I've already seen a huge improvement in communication between committees, but in order to continue that momentum, what's being proposed is that we have kind of like two sections of our committees and our board and our club organization to be funneled into like a point of communication and facilitation. It's not like a point of contact or like someone to be above something, but it's more like a facilitator for those conversations to make sure that everything is including everyone, and we're getting the right information to the right people. And that includes club members. So if a club member has something that they're pushing forward, let's say to the website person, that website person can reach out to someone that will make sure that everyone else involved will have that. And I think that we'll organically start to see this, fabricate new systems, but those systems will be under the purview of this facilitator as we move forward. Now, currently, the proposal is to break this into club administration, which would be more like operations of the club. And then the other side of it would be like our community, work, whatever that means. So grants, awards, service, and vocational. So that's some of it. We would also then have fundraising and membership. And we've talked about maybe rolling membership into club administration, but that would have to be an amendment here. And fundraising would be its own tier, but it would still be underneath someone in, either a board of director position or an officer position to take that information and then make sure that they're reaching out to the committee chairs that would be, pertinent to the work there, to make sure that we're keeping those conversations moving forward. And just as the quick backstory, it's just simply that In the past, that's not always happened. You know, we've had some committees where we just haven't had, you know, them included in certain things because people didn't know to do so. But now just by having that one person to facilitate and make sure, oh, this also should include, and then bring someone in. That had traditionally been the president's role. We've just understood that that's a little bit more work than the president probably should handle from Marty's year, my year. And it seemed like that may have happened a long time ago, but certainly under Jim's year, that became more of a common action, that Jim was involved in everything. And we wanted to make sure that we don't overwhelm the next several presidents. And that's why we have so many more people interested in being president, I hope, because we're not going to overwhelm you. Okay, so that said, we do have the current structure below, which is a very flat, like I mentioned, every committee underneath the president directly. So the proposal here would be to create, right now is to create 4 sections. It would be membership, fundraising. We're calling it Benevolent Outreach. It's just a name. It's not necessarily the best name, but that's the name we've got. I've heard a lot of feedback on that. And then administration. So this is now, I'm opening it up to have conversations, ask questions. And again, we wouldn't be changing this now. We would vote on what we have, and then we could vote on amendments based on this conversation and propose those amendments, okay? So any questions, any ideas, any reflections here? Kim?
The one thing that I wanted to make sure that you understood on the, and I'm happy to do the cards. Oftentimes our speakers don't have addresses. It's just an email. So since we've been on Zoom so much, oftentimes I'm writing a thank you Zoom note. I mean, not Zoom, but email note. But whenever I can, I do a handwritten. So I just wanted to let you know that's what's been going on. And I do the carrying cards, you know, as long as people let me know what's going on. With us gone this period of time, has anything happened? Have I missed any huge? Okay, but let me know, because I'm happy to do that. And I think it is very important in a club to just have that personal appreciation and let people know that we care about them. So I just wanted to clarify in that.
So Kim, you're asking Jay to give you that information. I mean, Bill Hendricks is the person who could get the emails and get the addresses from the speakers. I have asked him in the past for information, and
well, he puts
and
me
then-
on. He does put me on the
What?
email, but he does put me on the email.
Yeah.
The problem is,
And moving back here again, the structure would be that this club administration facilitation role, that person would make sure that those communications are happening. Bill has a spreadsheet on our documents here that he tries to maintain with the upcoming speakers, their email address, what they're speaking about, what organization they come from. He's been usually very successful. I think there's only March has been the month that this year that he hasn't been able to keep that up to date. But every other month, like right now, it's up to date, and every other month it seems to be very up to date. That's also the document that Beth had been drawing her newsletter information from for the programs. And because last month Bill didn't update it all, Beth didn't have that information. And I know that there was an email about that, and I saw that, and I responded to it. But he's generally very good at keeping that up to date as he has speakers enrolled. And I think that's where Joanne would be the person to facilitate and make sure that, Bill's got that information on there, and that the person doing the newsletter has that correct information, and that Public Image can promote it, and that the website has it, and that at the end, Caring would be able to send the thank you. Like that would be just making sure, just touching base. Yes, everything looks good. Okay, nothing should be problematic. Okay, there's a little bit of a hole here or there. Something's not happening. Is everything okay? Just kind of keeping an eye and making sure it's all facilitated. That's how it's being proposed to work.
Well, good luck, Joanne. Sorry.
I think Joanne can handle this. You're muted, Joanne.
Okay, yeah,
Oh
I expect this role to be that of clearinghouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on this right now? So another thing I would point out is that not everything listed here is a committee. So an example, caring we just talked about isn't a committee. Website's not a committee. These are just assignments, tasks, roles that people may have. Programs is not going to be a committee in this structure because it's just Bill. It's an assignment of one person. He doesn't have meetings. He doesn't have people that work for him.
But I assume all members can forward ideas to him.
And we do.
He takes them.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do, because I get a lot from Rich. And we do this all the time. We go back and forth, and that's great. And the speakers are happy because they want to get, they want to be known in the community too. So
Right.
we have a network going.
Right. So I guess what this also is pointing out is that these 4 elements, they're going to be comprised of people who have assignments or roles and committees. They will facilitate that communication between both of those types of, so like I'm doing the website, I'm not a committee, I'm just updating the website, right? And I don't think Beth would think her newsletter role is a committee. She's just putting the newsletter together.
Is it, you think Beth will continue or we asked her?
She hasn't been very responsive this last month, so I'm trying to still get a hold of her to see if she wants to continue that role. I think she might be pretty swamped right now. I'll be
Okay.
honest, in the federal government right now, it's really crazy,
Yeah.
like really, really crazy. And I know that she's kind of a pseudo government, but she works with the federal government, and my guess is that her life right now is just insane. But they're working on fixing that infrastructure bill. They're hiring thousands of people right now. I've had 4 interviews for 4 different roles in the last month at the federal government. They're hiring like crazy. So I'm hoping her life will settle down soon from all of this. I know the same thing's happening to Dave. So that said,
Can I say
please.
something
Yeah, if you
about
got more comments, please.
Oh, sorry. So the newsletter, I had suggested months ago to Beth if she would entertain this idea. And it was when Paulette was coming to meetings, and Paulette's still interested in this possibility. But she's not ready to become a member, but she did the newsletter for Spellbinders, and I asked her if she could do the newsletter with my help, because she is blind, but so she does typographical errors. But she said she would do it, but she's not a member, and I'm having difficulty, making that happen. But the idea of having people get involved in what we've called the Step Up team, which is people who are not necessarily in the club but want to volunteer to do things. I know I'm being vague about this, but Beth was interested in something like that. She was interested in having somebody take over the newsletters, what I'm getting at. So you got TBD there, but I mean, there are other ways of doing this and having, a member necessarily.
Yeah, and I think that we
want-
should entertain ideas like that, and I can see the value. I understand the opposition to it, wanting to offer these opportunities for responsibility to club members first. And we may have people who have just joined the club that would be interested. So I think let's not take that Paulette idea off the table, but let's first fish this out to the whole club, because I don't think, before Beth answers, let's see if others in the club want to learn how to do it, want to take this on, or would be interested in it. It's not a big lift. The newsletters, it's really like a once a month task that generally takes about 2 hours.
I'm willing to take on from Beth until July 1st.
Yeah.
Or
Sure, Terry,
beyond,
yeah.
because I'm also foundation. Once the peach sales happen, absorbed.
Are you sure
as-
you wanna volunteer for more right now, Terry? I'm just asking you.
I'm
I
just
know
saying is, is not,
Okay.
come July 1st, I know I'm more committed to
Okay.
other things.
Well, let me talk to Beth again this week to see if I can get response from her. She's been more responsive on grant stuff, which I know is something she cares deeply about. So I think that that's been
I mean,
helpful, but
I do church newsletters and stuff, but I just don't know what format she's to put it in.
I don't think we're wed to any format here, Terry, but
Okay.
we've got email addresses and we can have it sent out. There's a current system and you can adopt it or we could do something different. I don't think anyone's particular about it.
So for the more immediate need, I'm stepping in, but as of July 1st, I hope we have someone else.
Okay, and maybe Beth, maybe it was just madhouse for a bit for Beth, and we'll see what her response is. Maybe this is not a problem anymore, but okay. So under the other the benevolent outreach, which I mean, again, just a placeholder name. All of this is placeholder. We can amend anything here if anyone has any strong oppositions or great ideas for it, but not everything in here is going to be its own committee.
Can't we just call it outreach?
Sure, we could call it outreach, but I was wanted to separate that from public image.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well,
Can we go back to public image and please remove George McKee?
That'll be in the amendment. Well, and actually, this is not even, the names are not
The
important. here,
name should
really.
not be attached,
Yeah,
right?
the names are not important to what we're providing, like we're approving
Okay,
here.
all right.
Yeah, it's just the structure that we're approving here. And the names of like the, these facilitation roles, that can all be different too.
Okay,
But I think the organization, if you want to amend the organization, let's say you wanted to propose membership be under club administration, that would need to be a proposal in an amendment. And we can do that right after, and it can be very straightforward. Same with fundraising. I think fundraising really probably should be separate, and we should probably focus on that in a different way. Things I'm not seeing in here that need to be in amendments likely would be social, which I think would be under club administration. I think having someone, even if it's just a non-committee, it could be a social task force, it could be a social.
or that could be a subsection of membership,
Yeah,
because
totally.
that's where we want people
As-
to enjoy our club for
Right.
the social activities as well as the regular meetings.
Oh, I like that better.
There you go.
I like that.
I mean, these are things
I
that
like
we
that.
can amend. And I think that maybe you're not, hopefully, I feel like that was the proof that people are starting to see like, okay, social is important for our club. I think that with fundraising, I mean, things like peach sales and stuff are just going to naturally happen underneath those. That would just be a facilitation from someone on the board of directors or an officer overseeing those communications to make sure that that's happening correctly. And that would pull, currently fundraising, foundation, and grants are all one role. And that's not that's just not well organized for our club the way that we act now. Maybe in the past, but not anymore. So that's part of this proposal here, is to pull fundraising, and we don't have foundation listed on here. We probably need a foundation, someone, whether our club decides to move towards someone cheerleading towards, Rotary Foundation and Club Foundation, fundraising, or if it's, it's just more of a liaison type role from the foundation, working with the club. But we'll need to come up with a solution for that, because the Rotary Foundation, the International Foundation, we do need to have someone in our club that can champion that at least. And that does not have to be a committee. That could just simply be a person who really cares about the foundation and wants to talk to the club about it. So things to think about here based on what we see. That's probably more under fundraising, but I think
Very
as it stands
definitely,
now, Rotaract is not a committee, it's a person.
Mhm.
I think that we probably have already seen that vocational does have the potential here of being a full-blown committee that should be canonized in our bylaws, which it's not. And then literacy is an award, and they do have a standing group of people, but it's an annual thing. It's not an all year thing. And I think this is another thing that Marcia would like it to be a committee. But I think that if it's a committee, it probably should be the award committee, not just literacy. And I would propose in the amendments here that they also take on receiving the Sparkplug nominations and then compiling that list for the board if they want to be a committee. And I think they could be the awards committee, which makes a lot of sense for us. Awards
Yeah, that does.
and grants are separate. We handle
Mhm.
them from different pots of money and different proposal processes, but
And that-
Sparkplug and literacy are handled the same way.
That would also formalize things, because right now, everything about the spark plug deteriorated
Yes.
the year that someone whose name we shall not repeat determined that it was his choice no matter what.
Right.
And that is not the spirit of our awards. And so
Yeah.
having
Totally. And
it
I like the
formalized,
idea
I
of
think makes
I like
sense.
I like the idea of a committee handling that, because when it comes to me, I'm just like, I'm spaghetti against the wall. I'm literally trying to like, oh, there's a meatball of an email there. The format of it is a little bit different for each person who submits. And I even had someone submit someone else's proposal this year. So I'm just like, well, wait, what email was it? Who sent that to me? Because I didn't get it from the person who proposed it. And, so being able to have someone who may not get as many of these emails about that subject organize it, I think will be much better, and have a committee review them real quick. Maybe it only takes a quick day. Let's say this year we had 4, go through it real quick and say, okay, is everything there? Did anyone see any problems with any of these? Just having extra sets of eyes on them before they come to the board and have them formally proposed by a committee. I think that would be a much stronger way for us to field Sparkplug and literacy moving forward.
All right, can we change that right now? Just instead of literacy, it's awards with
I think we just do it in
Awards.
the amendment super quick. It'll just be,
Awards.
that's a quick one, but.
Well,
but
even this year with the whole psychodrama with the awardee not being able to show up because the person who proposed her didn't understand the bottom line is they got to show up that day. And she
But-
said to her, oh, you don't have to come. You'll still get the money. And it created many other problems, whereas an awards committee would actually structure it better.
Well, and I don't think even pointing fingers, I think that everyone made a best effort, for that situation.
Oh,
and
no. I'm just saying that it would be formalized a little better.
Maybe,
Because
yeah.
right now it's not. It's spaghetti on the wall.
Well, in terms of receiving it for the board, yes.
Yeah.
And I do think that, I think there was, in that situation, we even had multiple communications to the awardee about like, oh, are you able to come? More than one person sent those emails. So like being able to have the award committee take care of that, it's not a lot of load for a committee type situation like that. Whereas when it comes to the board and then me being the representative, it is a bigger load. So I think that if you're right, if we formalize it, it'll look nicer. It'll be less cross communication, single line of communication through, a point there. And it goes back to what the club assembly said. They wanted to have better organization, better structure for this type of stuff. So I think this would be great. And it'll give more club members an opportunity to participate in literacy and Sparkplug. Because right now, Sparkplug is you nominate and the board handles it. You could actually join this committee if you care a lot about Sparkplug, and you could be part of the review of it. And maybe you only review one and not the other. I could see that from Marcia's standpoint. I could see her having people who don't want to review both. They only want to review one side of it. So I think, I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I don't know if there's any other ideas here from what you're seeing, but.
Jay, this is Anne.
Yeah.
You don't know over the years how difficult it's been to get people to nominate people for Sparkplug Awards. for, and the literacy award. Well, that's fairly new, but yeah, we need an awards committee. We definitely need an awards committee. So thank you for putting that all together, that idea.
Well, I flew it by Marcia, and I think that she's a little bit like, I don't know that I want to take on all of it. I'm like, Sparkplug is not hard. It'll just be simply getting, we got 4 applications or 3 applications a year usually, and it's not a hard review. They're much less complicated than like a grant review. I think that it's not a hard lift, and she can delegate. So I think she's not unwilling, but she really wants to be a committee. And I think that this would be a way to make that feel like a good balance, because it is the right load.
It would also allow for the rollover, as you said, because people's memories are short, as we've learned a couple of years ago. And so we say at the board level, oh, we're going to roll it over. And then people shift off the board and everybody forgets that they agreed to roll it over. So I think that there is, especially Marcia is so good with paperwork. If something was rolled over and she no longer headed that, she would have the ability to say, this is what we did last year.
Absolutely.
And I think having like deadlines, like we have to have these the nominations for literacy are due August 30th. The nominations for Sparkplug are due November 1st, or, that's just random. And that way those committees, the expectation of the time is really, it's around those weeks, period.
I agree.
Yeah. And when we redo the website, just as a heads up, we're going to be shifting towards a new email infrastructure where we will have role-based email. So there'll be a president at our domain. I know that we have that one right now, but we'll also we can have an awards and a grants one that are not on at Gmail. And what that I think will help with in our club is continuing the communications as we move forward from year to year. And in this case, we can have an awards one. It will be a little bit easier in our website for people to see, in that infrastructure of our awards. You'll have literacy, Sparkplug, here's the nomination forms, here's the process, and it'll be very clear. And then it'll be send it to awards at ourdomain.org. I think we'll make it much clearer, because right now, as clear as it is, it's very unclear what the process is and how it's actually happening. We're going to clean that up. I really do want people in our community to know how, and with transparency, how we're receiving and reviewing and nominating people to these awards, because I want more opportunities for those who may not have other opportunities out there. All right. On this structure so far, any other comments, thoughts, ideas? Because I think we're running up on my time frame here for when I need to go to my next meeting.
Marty indicated that she wanted Ryla and young Ryla to be under vocational.
So I think that they currently are. I think that right now Bill is very passionate about it, and Bill does really go to those calls and field the emails. So as long as, I think that they just need to make sure that they're open. Bill would probably step away if, I don't know. I just want to make sure that Bill gets.
Well, where does Ryla, or where would they fit under here then?
They're currently already under vocational.
They're currently under.
And I think they should stay under vocational.
Right. I think it would just be that Marty would have to be talking to Bill about that.
Okay, so I'm just going to take the word project off and vocational, and Ryla is underneath there.
Yeah, Ryla would be a subcommittee from vocational, but vocational, again, in our amendments would have to go into the bylaws, because I don't recall seeing it in the bylaws from our last one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been talking to Roger Cabbage, and he still is engaged in international. In fact, we were on a district call the other day. They just mentioned our international grant project in the district. So, we are considered fairly active there. We just don't have a lot of members on our committee after they resigned earlier this year. So,
Right. as long as Roger's
Well,
still involved.
Roger's
what
still
is-
involved and very interested.
And
What
I-
is he
I-
doing?
And Roger's going to give a presentation to the club. So
Yeah.
he's going to be a program coming up. So he will answer all those questions.
And I know
Okay,
Van Ginger is really interested in international.
I had a couple of questions about whether Roger and Scott were still part of our club. They're still paying dues.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, as long as somebody is still paying dues, they're still a member of our club.
Yeah. Roger's also traveling internationally quite a bit right now. So he has it's been harder for him to make meetings, but he's willing to come to the board meetings and whatnot when he has to. He's willing to come do programs. He's very responsive by email. It's just harder for him to make meetings with how busy he is. So I think we want to support members that are in that situation as much as we can. Not everyone can make our meetings all the time, and we're moving on from that. That's old Rotary, that everyone has to be at everything all the time.
And we're adding social under membership.
I
Or
think
membership
social
and
is the
social,
amendment
maybe.
proposal for under membership here.
Or include it, social and membership.
I think we'll just have it under membership. I
Under,
think
okay.
we can propose something different, but I think membership is, we'll have in membership, we'll have, social, we might add some other things. I mean, you could put caring under membership as well. I don't know if Kim feels strongly against that, but I think that they could still be tied into programs and, whatnot, but they could also be under membership because caring also reaches out about membership stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
That's a
if
good
anyone wants
tie-in.
to propose something different there, we can. But all right.
I think it's just critical to, have these, labels and know what people are doing and who's doing it so that it doesn't get lost.
Right. And these facilitation roles are not necessarily like, it's not a layer of like management per se. It's just trying to get things facilitated. There's going to be across these four elements all the time. When we're doing fundraising, they got to talk to public image. They got to talk to website. They might even have a program and it's going to be in the newsletter. It doesn't mean that they're completely separate. It's just that we've identified that peach sales under fundraising, if we do coffee sales for fundraising, if we do anything else, that's going to fit under the fundraising primary tower, and that facilitator, whomever that is, will make sure that all the other elements and people are making sure that they're connected and they're doing, what is expected of them. It's just utilizing our board a little bit more, like the club asked.
Yes, the board needs to be either chairs are very involved, each member of the board in each of these.
Yeah. All right. Any other conversations we want to have about this before we move forward? Okay. Do we have any motions?
Yeah, I have one thing.
Please, Ann,
Wait.
please.
We didn't talk about fundraising here. This committee or membership, you've got TBD, which I volunteered months ago to Leslie. So I am very happy to, and I've spoken to Bob Slider about taking that over. So I just want you to know that I volunteered to do that, be the chair for that.
Okay.
If
Yeah, I
there's
think that we just want to make sure
membership
that we're not
committee.
over committing you to too many positions here. I know that you're still going to be public image next year because you started that this year. And you've asked to do Rotaract, which you've already been very involved in. Just want to make sure you're not taking on too many things, right? Because
Well, maybe I'll drop out of something
Sure.
else, but I think
Okay.
it's very important that we get rid of that deficit issue. And we get at least 5 more members.
okay, well, that's under Leslie's ear. So let's continue to talk about that and figure out that. But again, the names here don't matter that much because we know some of them are not accurate anymore, and they wouldn't be next year,
Okay.
but we'll move forward and get those names updated for next year in the next
Okay.
few months. All right, any proposals here to move forward and adopt the skeleton of the structure as it is before we go to amendments? I need a motion. Anyone want to be the,
The goat?
I'll move. I'm moving to adopt the general 4-element structure of facilitation of the committees.
I'll
And I
second. This is
second.
Angie. Okay.
Okay,
Who
we'll give it to
seconded?
Angie this
Angie
time,
seconded?
Joanne. It'll be Jay is first, Angie is second.
Mhm.
Okay, again, this is for the structure. We're going to go to amendments just briefly afterward. So all in favor of the 4-element structure? Aye. Okay, anyone? Okay, anyone opposed? And anyone abstain? All right, it's all in favor at this point, and we have 7 people still, so we still have a quorum. Okay, great. All right, so moving on to that passed. Moving on to amendments.
So the
Any-
award, illiteracy becomes awards and spark plug, awards with
Correct.
literacy and spark plug underneath. Is that the amendment?
That is a
And-
motion amendment.
And we changed Club Benevolent Outreach to Club Outreach.
Okay, as long as it's clear that that's.
So
yeah.
that, yeah, because all these things are part of, outreach to the
Okay,
club.
benevolent is a funny word. I'll take it out.
Yeah. I
Well,
think
it could
it's,
be,
ju-
it also
it
could be
just,
club service and philanthropy.
yeah, see, philanthropy again is like benevolent. It's one of those, I think because yes, our service is philanthropic when we clean the highway, but
Yeah.
people might be put off by that term.
Okay,
whatever.
that word is a funny word. So
And
Gordon-
because our philanthropy is all through the foundation
Right.
for tax write-offs, and this is the club, which is not, it's,
Sure.
I just think, stay away from it.
Okay, so we're making a list rule now of 1 amendment, but it's going to be changing literacy to award,
Mhm,
changing it to club outreach.
right,
We're adding
social,
social to
Social to
membership.
membership. Mhm.
under
Okay.
membership.
We are adding foundation underneath fundraising. Is that,
We
Okay.
can have 3. We can have RI, foundation, and club, because club
Perfect.
fund, we have to raise for the club.
we do? Okay,
So there's 3 subsets under fundraising.
okay.
Yeah.
And then under vocational, we'll have Ryla, Y Ryla.
Okay,
And Kim, do you want to propose caring to stay in club administration? Do you want it to go to membership? Just from your personal perspective?
Seems like it covers both. wherever you guys
You don't
think
care.
it should.
It doesn't matter where it is. It's
Yeah.
just your call of where you like it.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
all right. Yeah, so that's a pretty good lift right there of what would be changed. Anything else that people are identifying that from a structure standpoint here they want, or they would like to see amended? Okay.
just pointing out that the vice or the incoming president, Terry, if you wanted to take on some part of this in particular, but I guess that's not part of the structure. We just, if we wanted the incoming chair to have a structural role.
Oh, well, another thing I'd point out here too, just real quick, is under club administration, Sergeant at Arms should be listed there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
We can't forget that because that's an important role in our club.
thank you.
Terry, do you,
We
I mean,
haven't had
I
for
think
3
you've already
years.
volunteered yourself towards certain things, but I
Well,
want to make sure that you're not
I'm-
overwhelmed with roles.
I think an important piece that needs to be brought to the forefront with the club every now and then, and I've done this in the past, but maybe not consistently, and that the president-elect should know more about anyway, is about both foundations, the Rotary International Foundation and the Club Foundation.
Yeah.
And to, I don't know, be the go-to person for that. I think that's an important role as president to know how all that works too. So as president-elect,
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that when Barb Lutz was coming to meetings. She's still a senior active member and she lives in Golden or something, so she doesn't come to meetings. But what she made it a point of really advancing the RI Foundation, and that is something that we've been lacking for a couple of years. And I think that, just knowing what the DDF is, all of that stuff, I mean, Herb understands it. I think he left a call, but it is really important. And we've been missing that for several years. And I agree. I think that, the club membership should know about it, but certainly the president-elect and president-elect nominee, whatever those are, should absolutely know about it. And we just don't. We just don't. We've got a big hole. And I propose that Jay, once he is no longer our president, he should take that over, because you're very passionate about that, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think our district, we need some reform in our district, and I've already been talking to some people there about how I think it's, the way we're doing it is ridiculous.
You may be of more value to the district, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it hurts us the way the district's handling it. And I think that other districts have already modified the way they deal with some of that stuff. But I think I'd be happy to be more involved in a foundation side of things. But that goes back to grants. It goes back to this club outreach. It's heavily involved, but it's a fundraising aspect too. And I think that that's where we'll see the most bang for our buck in our club, is really defining how we see ourselves as fundraisers towards TRF and the club's foundation.
Our club is very generous with TRF donations quarterly, and we've been leaving money on the table for 2 years because we haven't done grant proposals that utilize that DDF or the district match. And that's unfortunate. It's also because of COVID. I understand all of that, but I really think that we should be more proactive.
Well, and I've talked to Beth, just real quick, Diane, I see your hand up, but I've talked to Beth, and I think that we will move forward with a new grants application form in our club that better highlights the interest and the desire to utilize DDF and what that could mean. Because I think our club, one thing we should all know is the district's DDF, all of it's available to us, not just what our club raises. The way our district handles it, there's over $100,000, and they basically said, anything you propose, we will basically approve if it qualifies. And no one in the district's proposing anything. But we have to match cash
money on the table.
But because we have to match cash, and TRF is asking people, please stop doing that. It's just a waste of resource because we don't utilize all this money that we have ready to be used. And districts are asking for a cash match, and it's not required. It's just it's some fabrication that, I think we wanted to protect the district from, having too many requests and utilizing too much of our DDF, and having too much interest. We don't. We have over $100,000 this year that's not going to be touched because no one's interested, because you have to match cash for it.
10 years ago, I was president a long time ago. You had to get your proposal in by a certain date because there were so many proposals. And like everything else, things have really changed over the last 10 years. And unfortunately, many clubs are still looking at it in that 10-year model. And I agree with this. I think that, changing it so that you don't have to have a match change. There's so many things that can happen. And there are so many needs out there right now. We should be funding a lot more than we do.
I think that with the DDF, it's, the trainings are long and complicated. They make it sound like it's such an arduous process, but then they say, oh, it's super easy. But then when you get into it, it just feels very complicated. So it's this dichotomy of issues that really make people say, it's too much work.
Right. Hey, Ann, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, a few years ago, Gail Lerman, who I think was in charge of foundations for the district, she came and presented to us, and maybe we should have somebody come and talk to us, because I don't know, every time I hear DDF, my mind goes, So I think we need to know more, get some education here. I mean, probably we could go up and to the district, and there's probably a training on that. But I like to hear somebody tell me about it, because I think it's
Definitely.
time.
So yeah, I think that this is great under fundraising. It seems like there's a lot of passion for fundraising to take on.
So you're saying the foundations would fall under there, and president, and I'm suggesting president-elect be in charge that year or something? But
Makes
I think
sense.
it'll probably be like an as needed, you know, if we had a member who was super passionate about it, obviously we could have them do it too, but you know, president's always enrolled in every committee. That is a requirement in our current bylaw. They are a
Okay.
member of every committee.
I guess I should read the bylaws.
And president-elects, they're not, but they probably should start attending every committee that they can, because you know, they need to know what's going on. But all right, so as it's this amendment as it currently stands, I don't think there's any change there per se, but I do think that, you know, under Leslie's year, it would be to, you know, make sure we have someone who would be a point of contact for the foundations, because we'll list each foundation separate. Club and TRF will be a separate under fundraising.
Right. 3 different ones under fundraising, right?
Right. Are we gonna have Peach Sales as its own separate thing under fundraising?
I think it should be. I
Yeah.
think
It's
it should be,
major
because it's the
production.
major
Okay.
fundraiser for our club, and it should be its own
Okay,
designation.
Okay.
all right. That's part of the proposal here, and I don't disagree. Anything else? Anything else to add here? All right. So any motion on the table to propose adoption of this amendment list as we've just constructed it?
I'll move.
Okay, Joanne moves. Second,
I'll second.
Mary Beth seconds. All right, all in favor of the amendments as proposed? Aye.
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 All right. Angie even went in, it's all unanimous. So there's no need to ask anything else there. Okay, well, thank you so much for that. I know it was a big lift today. I know that we went even further than, you know, time-wise than I thought we would, but it really was very important for us to get all of this taken care of for Leslie's year. And
Mhm.
I really appreciate you all hanging in there, because this is a big change for our club. Oh, Kim, so
Congratulations,
cute.
Kim.
This is the sweetest baby. He doesn't even cry. He's a doll. He's a total blessing.
Welcome home.
Interesting.
Jay, before
No,
we
I'm
leave,
in
And
Pennsylvania.
yay, Kansas.
Yay, Kansas.
Jay, before we leave, we
Congratulations,
need to determine where I'm gonna write that check.
Larry.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think that the organization we want to send it to for the Marshall Fire. Yeah, I have not done research on this to propose it. I think that some members here of the board may have a better idea, like Anne, who's got her hand up.
Yeah, I sent everybody information.
Yeah,
I
but there were
mean,
like 10
everything
on
that
there.
I've seen. What?
There were like 10
Say it
on your list.
I know, it was so that you could all see what it was, but all the things that I've seen, it was Community Foundation. And that's why I sent that pie chart, so you could see where they're planning on putting the money. But I mean, so you could see, I mean, the mental health, I mean, all those people have been traumatized, and maybe that's something that we can consider. And so do we want to bring this up at the next meeting so people can view that? I mean,
I
no,
think
I
write
don't know
the
what you
check.
want to do.
they're all gonna
Well,
need the money anytime.
I know you want to
I
write a
was
check,
gonna
but
suggest the community foundation or the district is also collecting a fund that goes.
you saw that the Community Foundation has done $38 million, and they take 2% of $38 million. Do the math on that. And what, you know, it doesn't go directly to, all of that money does not go directly to the people who are affected. So there are organizations that are listed there that I'm going to just suggest, and I have I just know about Colorado Friendship, that we have a relationship with them, that those gift cards that they do, the money goes directly to those people and they take nothing out of it. That organization is all volunteer. And there could be other organizations that are on that list that I sent everybody. It was organizations to consider for distribution.
Yeah.
I think we have to go over this, but I
Maybe,
and see what people have to say.
maybe we
But I
should
don't,
do this via email, is do our
Yeah.
own research and
Yes.
make proposals, because everything on the news has been that the people who are affected by the fire are getting so little of the money or getting no money
Yeah.
because they're still tied up. And I think that one of the great things about our club is we want it to go right to people right away,
Right away.
right,
which is why I want to
Right.
write that check right now. But rather than put
I
it
know.
off for yet another month. But I think that we could do our own research and make proposals to Jay, and then we can vote as a board through email. This is what we're going to do. Because that was a long list, and I have not had the time to do any kind of research.
Sorry about that.
That your dog?
I know that. I just compiled it from whatever I was reading in the Daily Camera and wherever I saw,
Yeah,
who was
no, it
giving
makes
what. So
perfect-
yes, we
Makes
do have
perfect
to
sense. It
investigate.
makes perfect sense. But I agree,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
all of our money should go to some organization that is actually helping people. I mean, that was why people make donations. That's why people bought those baskets. That's why it's important that it go forward to individuals. And how we do that,
Yeah. This
we can
needs
certainly do
more,
it through email.
we need to look at it better.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Okay, so let's propose, okay, so
So
we'll do a
it's
proposal
deferred
for,
to next meeting.
Okay.
Defer.
and then, we will probably do an email before our May board meeting. I think that that's probably how it will look. We'll
Yeah.
end up having a call to respond by a certain date via email. And I'm guessing that'll be in about 2 weeks.
Mhm.
That would be my guess here. It'll give us enough
Well-
time to.
Just a little plug. This is the Conference on World Affairs Week.
Mm,
So
Okay.
hopefully everybody on this call is busy all week because you're all at the university going to these sessions, which are phenomenal. And so this week is certainly out for me, but next week I can do the research.
Yeah,
So-
2 weeks, I think. It'll give
Yeah,
everyone enough
2
time,
weeks makes sense.
except for me. I'll be in
All
Hawaii
right.
the whole next 2 weeks, so it'll just be on me. Okay, the other thing that we had to vote on very briefly is a date that we will, so I think, Joanne, is it possible that we can assess the impact of this on the bylaws by May for the May
Sure.
meeting? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so on the May meeting, we will be voting on a proposal for modification to the bylaws, and that will be to
All right.
propose it to the club. That's how that
Mhm.
works for us.
Right.
So we'll get that next in May, which would mean we'd have it by June, which would get it done just in time for
Time
Leslie's
for
year in
Leslie,
July.
yeah.
Yay.
All right, the timing's good. We got this all timed perfectly this year, as much as we tried to get it done earlier. It'll be
And,
done.
just a quick thing, probably in September, we'll probably do a club visioning. So that'll help happen during my year. And it might blend in with our discussion today and just help. I think we haven't done one since Marty's year before that. So it's time for the club to have a visioning. And that was, something that the district will support.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, everyone, I'm going to motion to adjourn.
Okay.
We have a second.
So
I'll
moved.
second.
All right. We'll get
Go
Mary
ahead.
Beth, and then we're all in favor of adjourning.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. See you
Thank
tomorrow
you,
morning.
Jay.
All right.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.